Starmer's biggest nightmare just came true. Labour MPs are revolting. They're exposing Starmer's massive failures, and it's not just a little disagreement, it's a full-on party crisis. Let's rewind the clock a bit and take a look at Starmer's time as Director of Public Prosecutions. You'd think someone in that position would be all about cracking down on crime, right? Well, it turns out things weren't quite so simple. Some pretty serious allegations are coming to light about decisions Starmer made back then. We're talking about cases that should have been straightforward but somehow got pushed aside. It's starting to look like a pattern, not just a one-off thing. The Hydrant program recently revealed that grooming gangs are still out there, sexually abusing 2 children every single day. 2 kids every day falling victim to these predators. Where was Starmer when all this was brewing? Right at the top of the CPS, supposedly keeping us safe. Simon Morton, a former senior detective who led major child sex exploitation investigations, didn't mince words. He said, "The guys we couldn't catch are still out there." That's a pretty damning statement about the system Starmer was running. Now you might think, okay, but that was then, this is now. Here's the thing. Starmer's Labour Party just blocked a national inquiry into grooming gangs at a time when we're learning about hundreds of kids being exploited. Starmer is saying we don't need to look into it. It's like watching a slow-motion disaster. The connection between Starmer's actions as DPP and his current decisions is becoming clearer, and it's not pretty. We've got ongoing exploitation happening right under our noses. We've got former detectives saying the bad guys are still at large, and Starmer's response? To shut down any attempt at a thorough investigation. Political commentators are calling this a massive blunder. They're saying Starmer has completely failed to understand how serious and urgent this situation is. When leaders lose touch like that, they lose the public's trust. This isn't just about one bad decision. We're seeing a pattern that stretches from Starmer's time at the CPS to today. It's like he's got a knack for dropping the ball on the big issues. You've got to wonder what's going through his mind. Is he more interested in covering his tracks than protecting the public? Because from where I'm sitting, it sure looks that way. All right, let's talk about this grooming gang cover-up that everyone's whispering about. It's like a ticking time bomb, and Starmer is right in the middle of it. Even people in his own party are starting to raise eyebrows. Andy Burnham, the Labour mayor of Greater Manchester, is calling for a national inquiry into these grooming gangs. This isn't just some random call, it's a big deal. Burnham's basically saying we need to take a good, hard look at what went wrong in the past. And a lot of that past involves Starmer's time as Director of Public Prosecutions. But here's the thing. This isn't just about digging up old dirt. Simon Morton, a former senior detective who worked on these cases, is warning that these paedophiles are still active in every city around the country. Think about that for a second. While Starmer's trying to act like everything's fine, there are children in danger right now. It's like Starmer's sitting on a political powder keg and the fuse is getting shorter every day. We've got reports of grooming gangs operating for years without anyone stopping them. And now, we've got people from Starmer's own party saying we need to investigate what went wrong. It doesn't take a genius to see that something's not adding up. If you were in charge of public prosecutions and heard about gangs targeting and abusing kids, wouldn't you do everything in your power to stop it? But that's not what happened. Instead, we're hearing stories about reports being ignored, about victims being let down, about justice being denied. And now, years later, when he's trying to be Prime Minister, Starmer wants us to believe he's the right person to keep us safe. How can we trust someone who couldn't even protect the most vulnerable members of our society when that was literally his job? What really gets me is the silence. Every time someone brings this up, Starmer and his team try to change the subject. They talk about anything else. The economy, foreign policy, whatever. Anything to avoid talking about those years when he was DPP and these grooming gangs were running wild. So here's where we're at. We've got a potential Prime Minister with some serious questions to answer about his past. We've got members of his own party calling for investigations. We've got experts warning that the danger is still very real. And through it all, Starmer's response seems to be to pretend it's not happening. The pressure is building and sooner or later Starmer is going to have to face the music. Well, folks, it looks like Keir Starmer's past is catching up with him faster than he can say, "I don't recall." Remember when we thought he might actually be different from the usual lot? Yeah, those days are long gone. It's like watching a political car crash in slow motion, and let me tell you, it's not pretty. Starmer has been trying to distance himself from his time as Director of Public Prosecutions, but the public isn't buying it. They've got a built-in BS detector and is going off big time. We're seeing a direct link between Starmer's past inaction and his current fumbles as Labour leader.